Hello, everyone. Welcome back to World Hoppers collaborative channel where we talk all bookish things, and all of the proceeds go to charity from merch sales as well as our AdSense revenue. And we are here today to talk about rating books, how we rate books, why we rate books the way we do, all things ratings. So, and you guys all have been on World Hoppers before, correct? Right? At least once? I think so.
Yeah, one
Okay.
time before.
Everyone's links will be down below, of course. You can check everyone out. And I'm going to start with just, do you rate with half stars or quarter stars or only like 1, 2, 3, 4 whole numbers? I'm always very curious about this. So we can kind of go around in order. So if you want to go ahead and start, Robin.
Sure. So in the beginning of rating things, we had like Goodreads, so you could only do whole star systems. Sucks. And then even when Goodreads had whole stars, I would be like, maybe this is a half, a 3.5, a 4.5. It's not quite that next star. And so more recently, I've started doing quarter stars because it's just like it didn't quite get there.
Yeah, I agree. I actually don't use Goodreads anymore. I specifically use the Storygraph only, and I love the half and quarter star ratings. It's like one of my favorite things about Storygraph, and I've always used half and quarter stars. And so, like when I did use Goodreads, I would say, this is 3 because that's all I can say. But then, like in my actual review, I'd be like, this is a 3.25, and here's why. So
yeah.
I feel like, the more I read, the more I'm like, no, we need to like think these ratings between like a 3.75 is like, like it's almost a 4, but it's just not giving all the stars. So I feel like it's good too, because like, but also if someone rates something at 3.75, I'm probably like, I'd rather read a 4-star.
the solid 4. Yeah, I think I initially just was doing like whole numbers, like probably the first couple months I like joined BookTube, and I'd been using Goodreads before then, but not like, excessively, I guess, or not like obsessively. And then started using it. And I think pretty quickly I would do half stars, like on my spreadsheet kind of thing. And then I would do the same thing where like on Goodreads, I would say, it's 4 stars, but like actually more of a 4.25, or kind of technically would be a 3.5 if I could, or whatever the like actual rating was. And then, when Storygraph came around, I was like, heck yes. Quarter stars in here. Love that. And I mean, when I'm going to like rate something on Amazon or some other kind of site, like I still, have to decide, like, am I going to round up or down? And like, I kind of like if it's a 3.25 or a 3.5, I usually will go down to 3. But then if I would give it like a 3.75, I'm like, I'll give it up to 4, like if I didn't have the option of these quarter or halves, what would I be forced to choose, kind of thing. But I still will, like, in the review say like, oh yeah, this. So yeah, that's how I do it too. And what is like a 5-star book for you? Like, what does that mean to you? Is this like perfection, best of all time, favorite of my life? Or is it kind of more just like, no, it's just a book I had a good time with? Because like I just feel like people vary a lot usually with that. So how do you feel?
So I would say, like, for me, a 5-star is just something I had a really good time with. There's no rhyme or reason. It may not even be my favorite book of all time, but it's gonna get a 5 out of me because it was just so good of a time. And that's really my only criteria for a 5-star.
Nice. Yeah, that's fair.
I think for me, 5 stars are ones that, one, I have a really good time reading, but also I have like very few complaints because I complain about a lot of things. So many tropes that I hate. Like, I really struggle with like fantasy that has a romance subplot. And like, we're in like mortal danger, but y'all are making googly eyes at each other. And I'm just like, this is not here, not right now. Or like characters just like doing really stupid things like repeatedly. I'm just like, oh my God, like, come on, let's go. There's more important things to worry about. So I think that the less complaints that I have, the higher the rating will be. And so I have to also enjoy it. And it's like you come home from work and you're like, what do I want to do right now? Do I want to watch my show or do I want to read my book? If I'm like ready to go back to the book over and over again, then it's probably going to be a 5-star for me.
Yeah.
That's a good. I like that. Like
Yeah.
you have like you want to pick it up more than like your other hobbies. Like that's For me, I don't know how many books I've given 5 stars, but not many. Like I think I've only given like 1 or 2 this year. Like
Same.
I'm so like to me that is like the all-time favorite. Like I've only given I don't know this year and last year were not, but the 2 years ago I was like I had given that like 25 stars. I was like this is like I love reading, but I'm like do I love reading? Because no, to me it's like I wouldn't change one sentence of the book. Like which is not fun. It's not fun to be like that picky with your 5 stars, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm similar to that, where like I don't give out that many 5 stars.
Honest.
And like that's also I'm very, very stingy. I've read 32 books so far this year, and I've given 4 5 stars, and most of them were rereads.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's very, very infrequent. But that's why like quarter stars, I'm like 4.75 is that like it's like almost there.
So for me, like if I really, really enjoy a book, but there's like maybe like one thing or like one character or like this particular situation that we were dealing with, I'll give it a 4.75, but I will still put 4.75s on my best of the year.
Yeah, I will do that too. Because again, if I have to round up or down a 4.75, I'm going to round up. You know, like that's, and I think for me, 4.75 is almost 4.5 and 4.75 are kind of like faves of the year for sure. And 5s are like faves of the year and also probably like faves of my life. Like those books, I'm just like, man, and not even that they're always perfect in my eyes. Sometimes I am like, there's literally nothing wrong. But sometimes I'm like, there's still some like flaws here or there. Like this element of it I would have changed. But like the overall feeling is just like pure fun, joy, or like deeply profound and impactful, like whatever it is, like something that just sticks with me a lot. Because that was the kind of related, but like next question is like if you give them freely or frequently. We kind of talked about it.
Yeah. So I was looking through my 5 stars and I was like, I'm starting to feel like Jashana. Because I had only had 1 of the entire year. And I'm just like, wow, did I just not enjoy it?
I'm not as free with them as I thought.
Yeah. Like I thought I was just taking them out, but apparently not.
Yeah.
I feel like if I give a book 4 stars, that's still a really good rating. Like in my opinion, like I would still really recommend it. It could probably be 5 stars for other people, but like, and like I would even put for me even like 4, like not even 4.25, just 4 stars could still end up in the favorites of the year video because
for
just
sure.
Like it's so rare that you're going to come across like an all-time favorite.
Yeah, exactly. And I've had to like try to like change my perspective on 5 stars over the years. And like I have a little bit where I'm like surprisingly less stingy now with them than I was like years ago. Because I think in my head I was always like, it has to be literally perfect for me to give it 5. But then I'm like, dude, how many books have I read, even books that I love years and years later, that I literally think are actually perfect and would not change anything? Like that's very rare for me. So it's like, it has to be mostly, it's like 95% and above perfect.
Yeah, I agree with that. And now that I think about it, I think I've only given 3 5 stars.
We're all stingy.
A little bit, yeah. I think by the end of the year, I typically have between like 8 and 10. So like I think that's pretty good. But I don't know. I've had like a weird reading year where I've had like multiple months where I start off with a really good book and then my ratings have gone down for the rest of the time. I'm like, dang, what am I doing wrong?
But you know, the other thing with like 5 stars is for me, it's like, yes, you're great to me, but like, when I have to talk about this with other people and I have to go to bat for you, Can I?
Yeah. That's a good way of thinking about it. Yeah. Because your true 5 stars, like you will go to bat and like,
Yeah, you better
this
be
is why
willing to
it's
pay for that.
amazing. This is why everyone should read it, or like this is why it's great. Versus one that you're like, well, yeah, I mean, okay. I guess I can't say
No,
that
I
much.
feel like also for me, 5 stars I feel like are like books that I'm like, this was written for me. Like I'm forgetting about everybody else. I'm like, this was for me.
Yeah, you
I
just
don't know if
it
that's
resonates
like
with you
how
so
everyone
much.
thinks about it. Yeah, because but like there's a lot of people in the world, so I don't know how often that's gonna happen. It's
But
just
that's
gonna
like
be for
that
me.
high we're all chasing with reading. Like that is what we're all looking for. So I don't know. I feel like it makes sense. I mean, and nobody's wrong for like being free with 5 stars either. I have lots of friends that like give out 5 stars all the time, like candy, because they're just like, I'm having a good time. Like I'm here for a good time, and I had a good time. Heck yeah! And I'm like, I love that for
Well,
you.
there's like people that give out 5 stars and then immediately after they say they give it 5 stars, they're like, this is not for everyone. And I'm like,
Yeah,
more likely to pick it up then because I'm like, is it gonna be
yeah,
for me? And sometimes I
yeah,
pick it up and I'm like, that was a 2 star. Like I'm not everyone. I'm not. Yeah. But I'm like,
yeah.
but if it is for you, like it hits so
Something
different.
specific.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely more like, yeah, we all want that feeling of like, I want to scream from the rooftops about this book, whether it was deeply profound and impactful and super high quality in my opinion, or it was just so much freaking fun and like couldn't put it down. Like I'm still thinking about it weeks later. Like that's what we all want.
Yeah, I think like a 5 star evokes some kind of like very strong emotion in some way,
Yeah.
even if that's just like joy, pure joy,
Yeah.
like it evokes something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's a thing, like you were saying, right? To me, when like friends of mine or people I know that like give out 5 stars all the time, uh, common denominator, common factor is that they're typically way less critical than I am in general. So I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, and I don't know, I've had people leave comments like, oh, someone being honest finally, instead of just being
Yeah.
positive. And like, I don't think people are lying, dude. Like when they're being positive, they just have less complaints than me. Like maybe they're just less critical. Like I don't think they're making it up. They just have more of a
I feel like
fun
they're having
time.
more fun than me sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I
They're
just want to
able
turn
to
that part
just
of the
like,
brain off.
Yeah,
yes,
they
exactly.
experience a little bit more joy.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
Yeah. So
I
I don't
definitely have
know.
books like I have books that I think are just fun though. Like
Yeah.
I've heard
Where
this that
like
reminds me
this
of this
isn't
tweet.
high quality
There's this tweet
literature.
that's like I said it was my favorite. I didn't say it was good.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's a difference. 100%. Okay, and then what is a 3-star book to you? I'm the middle of the road is always so fascinating to me because like I know what it is for me, but then I'll
Mhm.
see other people talk about it where I'm like, that sounds like a 2-star the way you're describing it. In my head, what I see a 2-star, or that sounds like a 4-star the way you're talking about it. Like, so I feel like people have very different ideas of like that middle of the road. So what is it for you?
Yeah, a 3 star. It's for me a 3 star is like this is average. Like
Mhm.
it wasn't terrible. It wasn't the greatest thing. It's something I read. Will I most likely forget about it? Sure. But like
Probably.
I didn't completely hate it while I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I
Like, would you recommend it?
Oh, so with 3 stars, I think I would recommend it for like certain people. So like if
Yeah.
you like this thing, I could see how you would like something in
Yeah.
this. So it may not work for me. It's one of those things where it's like, it's not for me, but it might be for you.
Yeah. I could see it being for someone else.
exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's for me, it's like I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was all right. You might like it if you like these elements of it. Would I read it again? Probably not. Probably not
Yeah.
inclined to. I try not to keep books that I've rated lower than 4 stars. So it's okay. It was good. I had a good time, but it's not my favorite. I also wasn't like, oh my god, I hate this book. No one should ever read it. So it's just like, meh.
Meh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I think for me, I when I first like got into reading and all that, I was like, And you know, I watched a lot of videos about like ratings and stuff too, and I was like, so like there's no consensus on like what people do. But I feel like for me, I was like, all right, a 3 star is like I don't regret reading it. A 2 star is like I want that time back. But a 3 star is like I'm glad I know, like I tried it. I'm glad I got a taste, but like never gonna read it again. And I just like y'all, like probably would recommend it to some people if there's certain things that like they're more interested in than me. But like, yeah,
Yeah, that's kind of what it is for me too. And that again, that's why I love quarter stars, because my like I group them together in my head, and like 2.75, 3, and 3.25 are like the middle of the road for me. But like 3.25 is like it was like slightly like slightly leaning positively, but still kind of meh, but like a little above meh. And then 2.75 is leaning toward like, man, I could see some people liking it, I guess, but like I'm kind of leaning pretty negative here, but not like quite negative enough to be like 2 stars. What the frick? So it's very middle of the road to me. But yeah, similar thing. Like where I don't know, man. I see some people, like I said, the way they talk about a 3 star, as I'm like in my head, the way I would rate the way you're talking about that is like 4 stars for sure, or alternatively 2 stars. Like it's not bad, you know. You have a lot of complaints, like excessive amounts of complaints, but everybody's just different with like how they see it in their head.
Like,
Because I've seen people say that 2.5 in their head like is middle of the road, or like a 2 star book is like it was fine, and I'm like, what? 2 is like actively bad for me.
that's what because when you click on the ratings in Goodreads, like it says like 1 is like I didn't like it, I think,
Yeah,
or and 2 is like it was fine, and
yeah.
I think I missed. I don't think that's how it is. I don't know, but it's like I don't know. Anytime if I see somebody rated 2 star, most of the time I'm thinking like they weren't a fan.
Didn't like it. Yeah, same
There's
here.
one
Oh,
that
it
says
cut
like
out. Oh, there you go.
there's one person her like every rating that she posts, it says like if it was a 1 star, I liked it. If it was a 2 star, I recommend it. And then it
What?
says like 5 stars are only for life-changing books. And I was like, well, that sounds miserable. Like I
Yeah,
could never rate that way. Like, no.
that's intensive,
That
You
man.
hope
Yeah,
you're like I hope to follow people that are reading like at least 3. I mean, I'm hoping they're reading more 5 star books because like I want those. But like at least 3 stars, they're like not regretting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the dream. More of those. I hardly ever give 1 or 2 stars either, though, because of DNFing so much. Like,
no, so interesting because I actually just gave a book 3 stars that I DNF'd.
oh, yeah, oh, hey, here you go. Another question. Do you rate DNFs?
explain that, please, Robin.
Okay, so it was
Please.
a collection of short stories, right? And as I was reading it, I was like, this is enjoyable enough, but it wasn't compelling enough for me to want to continue reading it. But like I didn't hate it. And again, it was very middle of the road for me, and I could see how people would enjoy it. And I mostly read it. I think I got to like 75%. I was just like, you know what? I think I'm done with this journey.
So if it had been a novel, would it still have gotten that same treatment?
Or was it because it was a short story collection?
That's a good question.
Did you read like to the like there was like 10 stories, you read like 6 of them, or did you like finish in the middle of a short story? Or not finish?
So there were only 4.
Oh, okay.
And so I read 3 of them fully. But by the time I got to the 4th one, I was like, okay,
I get it. I don't care.
yeah. It was all revolving around the same theme, so that it wasn't like the themes were different.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I think if it had been a novel, it would have been different because I would have needed to know like how this ended, how things wrapped up, right?
Yeah. What was the overall message here? If I'm gonna like, rate it or whatever.
So if I get to 75% of a book and I have a novel and I DNF that, I may just hate reading it at that point.
Yeah.
Interesting. Short stories are a whole other.
I don't read a lot of short stories. I tend not to love short story collections. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't read
So I
any.
either just don't like the short stories, or the ones I do like, I'm like annoyed that they're short. I wanted more. Hello.
I like the idea of them because I'm like, oh, I can like try like 12 different authors and like maybe see if I
Yeah.
if I like this enough to want more, maybe I'll go read their longer
Yeah.
work. But I haven't really like done that.
Yeah. I do not rate my DNFs. Another thing that I like about Storygraph and why I prefer it to Goodreads is that you can mark things as DNF'd and you can mark how far you actually got into it. And then those pages, if you like track your page count, which I don't, but if you do, those pages still count towards your reading goal. But yeah, I feel like most of the time when I DNF, it's because I usually DNF around like the 25% mark. And it's because I just know that I'm not going to enjoy it. So if I were going to finish it, it'd probably be a 1 or 2 star. And that's just not worth my time. So I'm just gonna let it go.
No, sometimes you have to let people know that it was bad. You have to. Like,
I'll
I feel
still
like
let
if you
them
put in
know.
your review that you DNF'd it, nobody's gonna take it as a recommendation. I wouldn't think. Like if you put I DNF'd this.
Unless
I
like
have many DNF.
taste from me and you're just like, you hated it, so I'm gonna love it. Like I feel like that's the only reason that would matter.
100%.
Yeah.
no,
Or
but
like sometimes my reason for DNFing is like the dumbest thing, where like just this one thing a character said, I was like, oh God, no. Or like punctuation. The one book that recently I DNF because there were too many freaking exclamation points where I was like, what are we doing? And like Roger was like, why do you care? I'm like, it sticks out to me. Like, because it wasn't in dialogue. It was like in the text of the book, like in this character's POV in their head. They're like, wow, gee willikers. Like this constant exclamation marks were in my head. That's how I'm reading it.
Is it a short
like,
book?
yeah. What?
Is it a short book?
It was pretty short, yeah.
Is it a book that was really hyped a year ago?
No. But do tell.
Because I feel like I was wondering if you were talking about Piranesi, because I feel like the POV in that book is like so many exclamation points.
Oh, I hate that, man.
But I feel like it was, I don't know, I kind of understood why they did it in that book. So I don't know.
It was purposeful. That's the thing too. Sometimes something's an active, purposeful, stylistic choice versus like, I think you're kind of an amateur right now with the writing. Like I feel mean, but like I don't like it. But yeah,
you're like, this just feels childish.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like you kind of don't know what you're doing here. And I feel like that kind of stuff that bugs me is probably because of having a whole dang degree in writing and like sitting through all these classes, like nitpicking these kinds of things. So like I'll notice it more because I'm like, all my professors told me no, like we never do this. So when I see a author doing it in like, again, not like a stylistic, purposeful way, it like bugs me. But like I'll say that obviously like in my DNF like explanation or whatever. I won't rate DNFs unless I made a rule for myself that if I read, I think it was like at least 70%. If I want to, I still don't always like give them a rating, but like if I feel strongly, like, and especially a longer book, if it's like 900 pages and I read 70% of that, I'm giving it a rating. Like, and especially because something like that, like usually I'm going to quit at that point because I'm like actively having a bad time now. And I'm just like, I simply cannot anymore, even though I only have this much left. Like I've DNF'd at like 85% before, where I'm like, I'm out. I tried. And usually when I do that, I've been wanting to DNF since like 45%, but I'm like, I'm going to push through, Jashana.
Yeah.
God.
I feel like people, the 50% mark is like.
Yeah, usually I don't make it past that.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever made it like 75 or 80% and then been like, I'm done. I feel like I don't know. I feel like that's just too much time.
That's wild.
Make it back.
That's what I think.
15%
I'm like, if I
like
continue, that's just more time I'm wasting that I know I'm gonna have a bad time.
I feel like once I start to feel like I'm not feeling it, like Robin and I were supposed to be buddy reading something this month, and I was like, I don't know, Robin, I read chapter 1 and I'm not feeling it. I was like, let me switch format. Let me go to the audio so I'm not like reading it with my eyes and having to think about it. And so I read 2 more chapters and I was like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah, usually I don't wait very long to DNF either. Like I typically am DNFing 30% or less for sure. And very frequently where I'm like, can I even count this? Because I read like 4 pages and gave up. I'm like, is that a DNF? Or I don't know if that counts. I will count it, but yeah. I just am very free with them. Have had 10 DNFs this year so far. So not as many as I normally have had, I feel like.
I listen to so many books at the same time, which I hate, and I need to figure out how to stop doing that because I'll like get halfway into one and then I'll be like, oh, this whole came through, and then I'll like just start the other one, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm driving myself insane. and then the other one will expire and have to like go back on hold for the other one, and I'm like,
the whole thing.
So, and then you go meet a whole new cast of characters, and I'm like, I have terrible ADD, so
that'll do it.
But I've been like reading physical and audio at the same time, which is like you're just really forcing yourself to focus.
Yeah.
So
I know a lot of people do that.
Yeah, I do that too.
Immersion reading. I can't do it.
If I like need to focus, or like if there's like really complex world building and there's like 50 different characters, and I'm like, okay, I need to pay attention so that I know what's actually happening and so I can keep it straight. So I love doing that, honestly. So
yeah, I know people swear by it.
I've been loving it. Especially with fantasy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can't do it. This question, do you ever go back and change ratings? And if you do, like, is it something you do frequently or like not really? Or like will you, if you even think about it? Like
I feel like I don't like physically go back and change rating, but like in my brain I do. I like go back and I'm like, you know what, this actually was not a 5. It was actually a 3.75. Especially
that's a huge difference.
I mean, especially like the longer I distance myself from something, and I'm just like, what is this? What is this even about? I don't even remember. But it was a 5 when I read it, and so now it's just like maybe it wasn't.
Yeah,
I think mostly if I like reread something, my rating might be different the second time, and I'll be like, oh, when I read this, or like I read this when I was like 17, and now I just have so many issues with it. But I think I've like read something, gave it like a 3 or a 4, and then like went and read like maybe the sequel, and then I was like, wait a minute, I don't like this. So in that case, I will go back and change it. But unless I'm rereading, I don't feel like I think about it that much. Like I feel like if I went through like my Goodreads, like since I don't use it anymore, especially if I went through that, I'd probably change like all my old 5 stars. They're all trash.
You're like, what was I on?
Literally.
Was I drunk?
Like if I give something a 5, I'm not gonna change it. Like for me, I feel like because I'm so stingy with them, when I give them, like I'm like, yeah, I know that's like what that is. But like 3s and 4s are like all the time. I gave something a 3, and then like a week or 2 later, I was like, no, that was a 2. Like that was such a 2. But it was like one of those books. It was so weird because it was like I was listening to it. I listened the whole way through. Like I didn't get bored. But then the ending was trash, and I was like, no, you made me listen to all this for what? It was like literary fiction. I'm like, I don't like this genre. I don't think that I like it at all.
Yeah, I don't do it a lot.
I've done it the other way too, where I've like reread something and upped the rating. So
yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, I did that recently. I'm rereading the Cemetery of Forgotten Books series, which is by a Spanish author, Carlos Ruiz Zafón. And I had read the first 3 books, and it's like literary, historical, gothic, like kind of mind-bendy sometimes, and like creepy. You're like, what is happening right now? And I read it in 2013 and 2014, the first 3 books. And the first one that I read at that time, I gave 5 stars. And then the other 2, I gave 3 stars, right? But overall, I was like, it's still great. And the 4th book came out and got translated into English, and like I got a copy. And I'm like, I need to reread the first 3 and then read this one. And I reread the first 3, and the 2 that I gave 3 stars, I was like, was I smoking crack? Like 5 stars, like 100%. One was 4.5 and the other one was 5. And I was just like, why did I give this 3? Like, what was I talking about? And I wasn't a
I feel like
child then. I was well into my 20s. Like, I was 27. I'm just like, what in the frick was I talking about? So definitely changed those ratings.
Hmm.
I will
I feel like that
sometimes, though,
leads
even
into
like
this.
not rereading, like usually going up. Normally it'll be like, definitely if it's anything above 3 stars and I gave it like a 4, like it's like one of those things where over time I might be like, I actually really like that more than, like, with time I'm like thinking about it more. So maybe I'll give it 4.25 or 4.5. But then the middle of the road, like 3s, there are times where like that, where I'm like, I think I was too nice. That was actually like a 2.5. Like I was trying really hard to be like diplomatic and like very gracious. I'm like, well, I could say something. But then I'm like, no, every time I think about that, I'm annoyed about, all I think about is the things that annoyed me, where I'm like, yeah, that's not
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
So yeah, I will sometimes.
So like I very rarely reread things. So like my ratings will probably just be based on like how I feel in the future about something.
Yeah,
I'm like, do I remember having a good time?
apparently.
Or then like I'll remember something that just like stuck with me but kind of annoyed me, and then I'll be like, you know what, maybe I didn't
Yeah.
have as good a time as
Yeah.
I thought. And like more recently what I've been doing is when I finish something, I'll like write down my initial rating, because like
Yeah.
that high you get when you finish a book, it's like, this was great, and then you sit with it for a few days and you're just like, no, maybe
Was
this
it?
maybe this wasn't really as great, or maybe this is much better than I thought it was. So I've
Yeah.
been doing that, like taking a week to
Yeah.
rate things.
Yeah, I try to do that too. Like, because I know, yeah, I've caught myself doing that many times. That initial feeling that like will kind of go away, and then I'm like, well, that's not how I really feel. And sometimes too, where like I feel very like lukewarm about a book that I'm like, I should have really loved this. Like, it's weird where I'm like, maybe like with time thinking about it, I'm like, I think maybe I was just like in a weird headspace, or like just wasn't really. I'm such a mood reader, and I'm like, maybe that just I kind of think I just wasn't really in the mood for that. Like another time, I think I would rate this higher. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'll still, in that case, leave it with how I felt now, but like, I usually will notate that, like, in a review or whatever.
That makes me wonder. I feel like I've seen, different booktubers and stuff talk about like if their mood affects their rating. So I would be curious if you guys, I don't know if it's a prompt, but like if you guys feel like it does or doesn't.
I think it does for me. Like, not to a huge degree, because I'm fortunate to like mental health wise and stuff like that. Like, I don't have like mental health difficulties or things like that. So it's not necessarily, because I've seen people talk about that, like being kind of in a bad mental health headspace where like everything I'm picking up is just like, I'm not. For me, it's more just like, I think times in my life where I'm particularly busy or like otherwise preoccupied with something else going on in my life, and not even something negative or whatever, maybe just like work stuff is a little busy, or like I have a busier social calendar for a few weeks than I normally do, and that like wears me out. Things like that, where like when I look back on like what I was reading at that time, I'm like, everything I was reading, because I'm always reading at least like 2 or 3 books, I'm like, I was kind of just like about everything. So I think it was just like I wasn't focusing enough, basically.
Mm.
So
That
I
makes
think it
sense.
can, for sure.
Like that, I feel like I could understand. I could see how that would be something that like you're dedicating more brain space to other stuff.
Yeah, like I'm not getting as engaged with anything I'm reading, so I don't think it's the books. I think it's me.
Yeah, I would agree with that, especially if like I'm just drained from doing whatever socializing, talking to people. And then like I'm reading something that also requires a lot of like brain space.
Yeah.
It's just like I can't give my attention to this, and it probably would have been better if I could have, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, like right now, so I started reading something over last weekend, and I've just been working a lot this week, so I haven't picked it back up. I'm gonna go back to it though, because I'm like enjoying it. But I have had times where I'll start something that I am really excited to read, but for whatever reason, like I just can't get into it in that moment. So instead of forcing myself to push through, I'll be like, okay, well, this is like a soft DNF, which I don't do very often. Usually if I'm done, I'm done. But there's like one book that I started reading like last October and still haven't picked it back up. And I still want to read it. I just haven't I haven't been in the mood for it. So I'm
It's
just like,
starting to sound like a stale DNF.
I'm gonna go back. I'm excited because I really love the first book, and I know that it's a trilogy. So I'm gonna go back to it at some point. It just, for whatever reason, at the time I was just like, I cannot get into this right now, and I really want to know what happens, but right now just isn't the time.
What series is it?
It's Risky Assets by Rachel Eccles. The first book is Trading Secrets, and
Okay.
it's like,
I think I've seen
don't pick it up if you don't like Lifetime movies, like drama and murder and drugs and all this other stuff. And the first one, I was like, wow, this is wild. And then
Funny. That's funny. What's your answer to that, Andrew? Do you feel like you?
I feel like I kind of agree with you in the sense of like, I don't know if my mood, luckily I also like have, not to say that like I never have mental health days or whatever, but like I, for the most part, like it's the book I was talking about that I like reread and upped my rating was The Six of Crows, which is like, what's more hype than that? But like when I read it, I was literally like, I don't remember any of this. Like, and when I first read it, I gave it a 2-star, and I was like, and then we read it, I was like, did I even read this book? Like,
what was I talking about?
I also didn't know that you really
like, whoa, this ending, like what?
So,
I'm so glad you changed your rating on that one.
Yeah, no, it's worth the hype for sure.
That's one I have never reread. When I initially read that duology, and I can't remember what I rated them. I think I rated them positively, like, but it was like 5 stars. But I was like, yeah, fun times. Like, I think it was above 3 for both of them. But then over time, I forgot. I'm like, I know the characters generally and like their vibes, and like I vaguely remember plot points and like heisty stuff that they do and like a few moments. But like overall, I'm like, I don't really remember that much about it, or like I don't even really remember how I felt about it that much. Where I'm like, I don't know, it's fine, I guess. And I want to reread it to see if I would have a similar experience.
I also want to reread it, but then again, I don't.
What?
I said I want Joshana to reread it, but then again, I don't, because if you know it, I'm going to be so upset.
Well, I feel like I would be positive toward it because I was before. But I remember even before being like, yeah, it's cool. I'm just not like, because it was like when it was in the height of the hype, where like people were like, it's my favorite book of all time. And I was just like,
people still say
that way about it. Like, it's like, it's cool.
Yeah. I had it was before the show came out when I read it, I think, and then I watched the show and I like loved the show, and then I was like, but I just reread it like last month, I think. So I mean,
nice.
I'm trying to finish Crooked Kingdom, and then I'm gonna watch season 2 because I love the show. Like, sorry, the show like put me in the right mindset.
Yeah. Puppy agrees.
Yes, Puppy agrees. Me too. Another question I was curious about is, do average ratings on, I should say, a book greatly affect your desire to pick up that book? Like, does it greatly affect like, ooh, maybe I don't want to or whatever, if you see like, and just the average ratings on like Storygraph or Goodreads?
No.
Yeah.
Only because I know that my average reading, again, it's like, it's not for me, but it might be for you.
Yeah.
So like I see an average, like it's not for them, but it may be for me.
Yeah.
I also just read whatever because I'm going to read something that many people have told me have been bad.
What?
Yeah. If something has like, because on Goodreads, I feel like I don't know what counts as like positive or negative average rating. Because like, I mean, I know anything over 4 is like crazy hyped usually, right? Or like only 2 people have reviewed it. Or something with like a lot of reviews that's like 4 point something. I'm like, holy crap, everybody's loving these. Or alternatively, something with a lot of reviews and it's like below a 3 is like pretty negative. But I don't know that it affects like if I want to read it or not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really look at average ratings. Like I don't even really read synopses. Like 9 times out of 10, if I'm reading something, it's because somebody said it was good, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I want to do." Yeah, and I'm because then I go back and read the synopsis and be like, "I probably should have read this before I got it." I don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
I feel like also like because I am like super critical of certain things that like the average rating isn't going to apply to me anyway, so I don't really bother to look.
Like,
But
you
then
know
again,
that.
everyone that did that like Goodreads thingy where they read like all the Goodreads winners or whatever for the past years, which
They were all miserable.
Yeah.
Miserable.
them. And if you look at some of the winners, the ratings aren't great. So I don't know if those ratings can be trusted.
Yeah, I don't think they can. I don't think
I
so.
definitely like look at the rating, but I don't think like it being a 3.8 or whatever is gonna like deter me from reading the book. If
Yeah.
like I think I trust like BookTube the most. What I really want to find is some guy or girl who every book they give a 5, I give a 5. Where is that person?
Yeah, exact.
Find that person and just read everything they
Yeah.
but yeah, no. Like I like look at it, but I don't think it's. I am really intrigued by this book that's blowing up on book. I've seen it everywhere lately because it's.
Fourth Wing?
No, Elle just reviewed it, the Fourth Wing
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, yeah,
Dude, okay. She was talking about it and she was like, Jashana, I need you to read it because I feel like you're gonna feel similarly to me, and like I just need to talk to somebody about it and see if I'm crazy, because she like didn't really love it, but like everyone is like hyping it up, and she's like, am I just insane, like whatever? And I was like, I don't know, man, the way you're describing it doesn't sound like something I want to partake in.
that one too.
And I went to the library to Libby. Of course, it's like several months wait for the ebook and the audio. So I'm like, all right. So I go to Amazon. The ebook is $15. And I was like, absolutely not. Like, what?
You
I
don't
might as
have
well
Scribd?
just buy a physical copy at that point.
The audio's on Scribd.
Well, they had the like preview chapters. It was like the first 3 chapters on Amazon you can preview. And so I'm like, all right, I'll do this. And yeah, I was like, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I will not subject myself to this.
I've seen people like people that like don't read like fantasy romance are like, okay, but like this book keeps having like 20,000 ratings and it's still at like a 4.7. And they're like, so now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
So, like
I like that.
Like with that book, like I'm just curious with the rating of that, but like stuff that's been
Yeah.
around for like years, I feel like it's gonna get, I'd be
Yeah,
curious.
the average rating
I'm
is gonna
sure the
be-
longer a book is out, the lower it gets.
Yeah.
Just in
Yeah,
general.
typically, for sure.
That particular book just got really popular, like really fast. It came out of
Blew up.
nowhere. My copy just got here 3 days ago. I don't know what this book is about. And in fact, when I got it and I saw like this rate, I was like, there are dragons on here. There are dragons in this book?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
dragon.
and I feel like Jess read it and
Dragon
loved
Rider.
it. And that's why Robin
That's why I
bought
did
it. And now we're supposed to buddy read it. And I don't know how I feel now.
Well, Elle did say, she was like, it was a quick read and a page turner.
Okay.
Like entertaining at the very least. Like very entertaining and like, what's gonna happen next?
That sounds
She
like
just
Robin.
had several issues with like plot points
It's gonna
or
be a
like
time for Robin.
yeah.
It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah. So because that's what the people that I've seen like loving it, like I don't think I've seen anyone be like, this is my favorite book of all time. Everyone should read it. High quality literature right here. It's more just like, this was freaking fun. Like I had a great time with this. Like it has flaws, but like I liked it, kind of
So
how I
it's
feel
fine.
about like House of Earth and
I
Blood.
like
where,
when
like,
the fun and the high quality literature come together, which is like
that's what
Yeah.
that is actually. But well,
that's the dream.
I don't know. It's funny because I hate literary fiction, but I feel like people are like this fantasy book. It's very literary, and then I end up loving it. So I'm like, I guess I like certain things about literary writing, but not
Just general
not the
literary
genre of
fiction.
Literary fiction, because
Yeah.
there's never a point. I always read the book and I'm like, why?
Very meandering. Yeah.
Yes.
Existential as all get out usually. We're like, I get it. We're philosophizing about life.
I'm like doing that outside of reading. I'm reading to like not do that.
I want to get away from this. I want to get away from it. Yeah, I don't think like average ratings usually. For me, like you were saying, Andrew, BookTube more. Like I also like there's not one individual that like I'm always on the same page with, but there's those people where you're like generally we have the same vibes and like things you will specifically say that I know we feel similarly on. Where I'm like, okay, duly noted. And so that's what I'll pay more attention to. Like, if a couple of people who tend to have similar opinions as me say this thing sucks and they hated it, that'll definitely make me be like, do I want to pick it up? I don't think I do. Or like vice versa, if they're like, amazing because of XYZ, and I'm like, those are the things I like, then I'm more likely to be like, yeah, I'll check it out. But like, yeah, the average rating on Anywhere, I'm kind of like, I don't know, I don't know what you guys are doing over here with these ratings half the time. So I don't buy it. I don't believe it. It doesn't mean anything to me.
You know what book I just thought of? I don't really know what made me think of it, but well, ADD probably. But The Book of Night. I'm just curious what it is. 3.54. That's the average rating of that book.
Really?
Wow. That one I know a lot of people were very disappointed with. Like, very disappointed.
That's some good marketing.
Yeah. It was like in all the subscription boxes and stuff. I had a copy of it and I unhauled it because of several people I know being like, no. And people telling me like, Joshana, you specifically won't like. It's like, I trust you. I'm out.
Someone said it was like the Sookie Stackhouse book, so I don't know. Maybe you would like.
Oh God. One of those 2 videos I have of talking crap about Sookie Stackhouse for an hour total are some of my like evergreen videos that I will still get views and comments on, but like some of the most negative comments, like people getting defensive, like coming in to like fight on Sookie Stackhouse's behalf, like calling me all these names and like, you're a stupid idiot, feminist, whatever. And I'm like, go away. Like, she's a fictional character, you guys. Calm down. They ride hard for Sookie. Yeah, so that definitely does not sound like something I would want to read then. No thanks. That was a series where I definitely changed my overall like view and like opinion and rating. When I was rereading them, I was like, what is this garbage? Why did I like this so much? Don't know.
Love the show.
Yeah, man. The show was so much fun. So much ridiculous fun. Anyway, well, I didn't have any other big talking points or whatever, and we've been going for about like almost an hour now. So do you guys have any last minute thoughts, comments?
Something that Andrew said earlier stuck with me, like when you're like reading a book and you're having a good time and then like the ending is complete trash.
Oh, yeah.
That for me, that's you're getting tanked like an immediate 1 whole star right then. Like a whole star. This is I'm having a good time, and then the ending, I'm like, what was that? Why did you do that? Now I'm upset. Yeah, no, that's definitely going to take the rating for me.
Yeah.
Like I think about when I'm rating a book, I'm thinking about the beginning, the middle, and the end. And I feel like some people, if they love the ending, like that will push them over into a 5-star. And I'm like, but what if the beginning sucked? Like,
yeah. That's another thing. I see people, like, and again, I don't
rate the whole book. You rate everything.
It's like their ending feeling is what they go with, which I don't think is wrong or bad. Like if people do that, but it's just like my brain doesn't compute either. Where again, I'll hear people like reviewing a book and they're like, the whole first 75%, I was mad and it sucked and this was terrible and this was garbage. But the ending, oh my God, 4.5 stars. I'm like, huh?
Are you talking about?
It could not be me. It does not compute. Does not compute. And again, I don't think they're like lying or like they're bad raters. It's just like perspective and like opinion and how I look at it is so wildly different.
And this is why I have to wait until like a few days. Because if the ending is just like fantastic, I'm like, did I really like this? Even though the first half was terrible. And I pushed through to get to the end.
Yep. Yeah. You gotta like let it marinate. And like, how did I feel about the whole thing? So it's like those are the things I'll say in a review. Again, I'll be like, I gave it this rating, even though like a lot of it I was annoyed with this, but like, man, the ending, it came together and like I'm so excited for the second book or whatever. But yeah, if I actively didn't like most of the book, like I'm not giving it a 4-star or above.
What did you rate the Final Strife? Because I know I've seen you talk about how the beginning of that was a struggle.
I did end up giving that 5 stars. Yeah, 100%.
I think though, because you and other people like warned me, like, hey, in the beginning, like it's kind of slow. She's just on drugs for 20%. And so I think I went in with low expectations. And then when things started happening, I was like, oh, this is really good. I had a good time.
Yeah.
And I think having that expectation though, because I was like, oh, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, if it's gonna be super slow in the beginning. But then like, I mean, the ending was definitely worth it, I think, overall, but also knowing, like having a low expectation for the beginning, I ended up rating it 4.5. I was like, this is great. And then Robin DNF'd it. So
Yeah.
I did.
Boom.
I tried so hard because
DNF at what percent?
I got pretty far into it. I got to like 50, 60%. And then I was
Robin read it physically and was like, I'm not feeling it. And I was like, I could totally see why you might not like this, Robin. So that's fine. She's like, I'm gonna get it from Libby and listen to the audio, and waited like a month and a half before the whole came through. It was like, I got the final strike now. And I'm like, girl, you're not gonna finish this book.
Not happening.
I tried and I was just like, you know what? No.
You
really had Ray tell me what happened.
Yeah. I think too though with that one, the beginning of it was like molasses for me the first time I read it. Literally the first 30% took me like 30 or 40 days to get through. But it wasn't like bad, I guess. Like I was thinking about DNFing it just because I'm like, this is taking me way too long. Like I'm not getting engaged in this. But like what I was reading, I wasn't like mad at anything.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's slow, but I'm not like annoyed at the characters, and like the writing isn't pissing me off or like frustrating me, or like it's good. I'm just like not getting gripped by it.
But like, I think that was like the lure for me. Like I wanted to see where it was gonna go because you could tell that something was unfolding. But I didn't like the characters.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
That's a pretty important piece.
Yes, that is very.
No, I liked one. What was her name?
Hassa.
Anur?
Yeah.
Hassa? Oh,
Yeah,
Hassa.
I know she hates Anur.
Oh,
Anur's very annoying.
Yeah.
She continues being annoying in book 2 also.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one, like, I felt comfortable giving it 5 stars because, I mean, at least it was like 60% of the book I freaking loved. And yeah, the rest of it, like, once I got to like, it was like 30, 40%. The rest of it I read in like 3 days. So I got engaged with it and was like gripped by it. But I think had the beginning been like not only slow, but like kind of a miserable time, I don't think I would have given it 5 stars. You know what I mean? Where I was like, yeah, that part was slow, but I wasn't mad at anything. So like, I feel good giving it. I loved the rest of it so much. Like, and even when I reread it like that same year, like I still gave it 5 again. I was like,
yeah, love that for you guys.
Do you?
I have it checked out from Libby right now, so I need to actually start it.
Crossed.
I hope you love it. I wanted to love it.
Yeah,
you did.
I know.
Whenever people like when I'm like doing a rant review or like, you know, this is terrible, and someone's like, oh, I loved it so much. I'm like, I love that for you. I am so happy for you. That's the dream. That's the goal, you know, like to like what we read. Like I didn't pick it up wanting to hate it as much as I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always fun. All right. Well, I guess we can finish up here, wrap up. Thank you guys so much for joining me to chat. Everyone who's watching, you know, leave your comments below. How do you feel about rating? Are you stingy with 5 stars? Are you giving them out like candy? Do you rate your DNFs? I know people feel very like strongly about that sometimes. So what are your opinions? Let us know down below. And thank you so much for watching and hanging out with us today. Bye-bye.